Welcome back to Knowledge Hivin, where we believe knowledge is a service and sharing it empowers all of us. I'm your host, Leisa Sims. I'm the CEO of Knowledge Hive, and today I want to do something a little bit different. Let's get a little bit personal because I just turned 60. Yep, and I didn't want to just whisper it. I didn't soften it. I didn't treat it like a confession. I just said it out loud. It's not as an apology, not as a disclaimer, but as a declaration. This episode is for every woman who has been told directly or indirectly that her relevance has a shelf life. For every woman who has ever felt the pressure to stay impressive, stay visible, stay useful. This is not a story about aging. This is a story about becoming, about what happens when you stop proving and just start knowing, when you stop performing and you start leading, when your worth is no longer something you negotiate, but something you inhabit. Turning 60 didn't make me uncertain. It made me precise. And today I want to talk about what that precision looks like from an executive professional perspective, from a career lens, and from a woman who has lived long enough to trust herself. So if you're here wondering what's next for you, or what's possible, or whether your best years are behind you, stay with me. Because this is not a story about decline. This is a story about forward motion. There's a strange thing that happens when a woman reaches a certain age in the workplace. People start asking, I wonder what she wants for her career, and start assuming that she's topped out and on her way out, even when she's still very much in play and present. We don't do this to men. As they get older, men are described as established and distinguished, and women are described as still working. She's still sharp. She's still relevant. Notice the language difference. Still. As if presence itself requires justification. Turning 60 made me aware of how quietly this narrative lives in our culture and how often women internalize it without realizing it. But here's what I've discovered. I don't feel like I'm finishing. I feel like I'm choosing what I want to work on, choosing what I want to build, choosing how I want to spend my energy. And that shift from proving to choosing is really everything. This isn't a slow down. It's a refinement. I mean, when you're younger, your career is about accumulation. You accumulate skills, you accumulate experiences, you accumulate credentials, you accumulate validation from others, and that's important. That stage really matters. But at this stage, something else happens. You begin to distill. You start asking, what actually matters? What actually moves the needle? What actually feels meaningful? You stop chasing everything and you start selecting. That's not slowing down or descending. That's leadership. I didn't wake up at 60 wondering if I still mattered. I woke up knowing that I finally understood how I matter. Not by doing more, not by being louder, not by being everywhere, but by being intentional. What 40 years of work actually teaches you is that there are things no resume actually will show. You can list your roles, you can list your titles, you can list your accomplishments, but what your resume doesn't show is how many impossible situations have you navigated? How many crises have you stabilized? How many people have you carried when they couldn't carry themselves? How many decisions have you made with incomplete information and still landed on your feet? Experience doesn't make you louder. It makes you quieter and more exact. You stop reaching for answers. You start reading. You read the rooms. You read motives. You read timing. You read when to move and when to wait. That's not instinct. That's pattern recognition. You've seen the cycles repeat. You've seen trends come and go. You've seen what looks revolutionary turn out to be really just recycled. You don't panic anymore. You assess. And that is executive power. You learn what no longer works. You stop confusing urgency with importance. You stop confusing just being busy with providing value. And you stop confusing attention with impact. You learn that not every fire needs you. Not every problem is your problem. Not every opportunity is aligned to you. You become selective. And that selectivity is not selfish, it's strategic. I no longer enter rooms asking, do I belong here? I enter rooms asking, what does this room need? That's a very different posture. I'm not being cocky, but let me talk about why I have no doubts about my worth. Here's something I've noticed. When people talk about confidence, they often talk about it like it's something you manufacture, like it's something you can will into existence. Affirmations, mantras, motivational speeches, motivational books, all those things can be helpful. But the kind of confidence I'm talking about, the kind of confidence I feel now at 60 is not motivational. It's evidentiary. It comes from lived experience. I don't believe in my worth because I say I'm worthy. I believe in my worth because I've watched myself move through complexity and pressure and responsibility and uncertainty, and I still find my way. I've built things. I've repaired things. I've led through change. I've made decisions without guarantees many times. I've stood by people. I've walked away when it was time to walk away from people. I've walked away from jobs and people when it was time. And over time, that adds up, not to arrogance, but really to grounding. It shouldn't be this way, but as a young woman, I always felt my worth was negotiable. I looked for signals. I looked for validation. I looked for confirmation. The reality was I was still gathering data. And at this stage in life, I don't wonder who I am under pressure. I know. I don't wonder how I show up in crisis. I've seen it. I've done it. I don't wonder what I contribute. I've done that as well. I've been there. That removes a lot of doubt. Not because I'm perfect, but because I'm known to myself. At 60, I no longer confuse being needed with being respected. I no longer confuse being busy with impatient. I no longer confuse approval with alignment. I don't say yes because I'm afraid of being forgotten. I say yes because something about it feels meaningful, strategic, or necessary. That's not ego, that's maturity. There's a quiet confidence that comes from knowing I don't have to be everywhere to matter. I don't have to do everything to contribute. I don't have to be loud to be influential. I can be intentional. And that is power. Let me share what I think the unique power of a woman at 60 and beyond looks like. There's something that happens to women around this stage of life that I don't think we talk about enough. We change the way we show up, not because we stop caring, but because we finally understand what matters. We stop shaping ourselves around expectations that were never really designed for us. We stop editing our voices. We stop apologizing for our presence and our opinions. We stop explaining our boundaries. And what really emerges is not hardness, it's clarity. At 60, I am very precise. I'm precise with my time. I'm precise with my energy. I'm precise with my commitments. I no longer overextend. I no longer overexplain. I no longer overfunction. And people feel that, not as being distant or difficult, but just as authority. Here's something else that changed. I no longer measure my success by how much I'm carrying, how much I'm doing. I measure it now by how well I'm choosing where I focus my energy. That shift is really enormous. I've also stopped needing to be impressive. Instead, I'm focused on being effective. I don't posture. I focus more on my presence. That is what people mean when they talk about gravitas, not weight, depth. Okay, for the women that are watching, whether I intended to or not, I've become someone that other women tend to watch or ask for mentorship. Not because I do everything right. Lord knows that is absolutely not the case, but because I keep going. I stay curious. I stay engaged. I'm willing to evolve. And if you're younger and listening to this, I want you to hear me really, really clearly. Your power does not disappear with age. It clarifies. It deepens. It refines. You will lose some things. You will lose tolerance for nonsense. You will lose fear of disapproval. You will lose the need to be everything to everyone. And what you gain is far more valuable. You gain perspective, discernment, self-trust, authority. You'll become someone who doesn't need to enter a room loudly to be felt. You'll become someone whose silence carries weight. That's not invisibility, that's presence. If you're in your 40s or 50s and wondering what's next, let me say this. This is not the winding down chapter. This is the refinement chapter. This is where your voice becomes truer. Your work becomes more intentional. Your choices become cleaner, not smaller, cleaner. So what comes next? Turning 60 didn't make me nostalgic. It made me intentional about what I build, intentional about what I tolerate, intentional about what I give my energy to. I don't miss my younger self. I respect her. She got me here, but I don't want to be her again because this version of me, she doesn't panic. She doesn't perform. She doesn't seek permission. She knows. I don't chase relevance. I define it. I don't need to be everywhere. I need to be where it matters. I don't have to prove I belong. I already do belong. This is not my closing chapter. This is my intentional chapter. This is where I choose not to react. This is where this is where I contribute, not compete. This is where I move, not from fear, but from clarity. And if there's one thing that I hope you take away from this episode, it's you do not lose power with time. You refine it. You don't become less valuable. You become more selective. You don't shrink. You concentrate. And that concentration, that depth, that clarity, that's where authority lives. Turning 60 didn't make me uncertain. It made me, again, precise about my work, precise about my voice. It also made me precise about my presence. I don't chase relevance, and I do build meaning in everything that I do. And I also don't seek permission. I bring perspective. I don't doubt my worth because it's no longer theoretical. It's been lived. And if you're listening to this and you're wondering whether your moment is past, let me say this very clearly. You are not too late. You are not behind, and you're not fading. You are becoming, and becoming is the most powerful state there is. And if you're a business owner who is looking for someone that has my experience and attitude, like it or not, come visit us on knowledgehives.co. Some of the most amazing people have loaded their profiles that bring this experience and confidence to the workplace. And certainly, if you are one of these people, we would love to have you on knowledgehive.co. Knowledge Hive is an on-demand marketplace for top-tier professionals who are willing to share what they know with others who need their expertise. If you're looking for help, you are a seeker. And if you're offering help, you are a hiver. If you love this episode, please share it with someone who is reimagining their next chapter, whether it be career or their life. Keep questioning, keep exploring, keep on building the future on your terms. Again, I'm Leisa Sims. Please put your thoughts and your comments on the topic down below. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or at knowledgehive.co. New episodes drop every week, so don't forget to subscribe, ring the dang bell, you know the drill. And if you haven't already, please create a free profile on knowledgehive.co. Until next time, we are Knowledge Hive, and we are Knowledge as a Service.